everyone. Welcome to another episode of Aqua Alex Live. I'm your host, Aqua Alex Cardinale, and today I have another exciting interview for you guys. Today I'm going to be interviewing a dear friend of mine. He's also a tropical fish keeper, and he was instrumental in making my aquarium podcast a success. So today we're going to be interviewing my friend who is also a crayfish keeper and someone who used to breed crayfish. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my special guest today, Crayfish King James Jones. James, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, Alex, what's going on, man?
It's nice to see you today.
Hey, good to see you too. Always hearing each other's voice. Now we get to see each other's face.
That's true. I haven't heard from you in a long time. How you been?
Hey, chilling, surviving, going through this pandemic just like everybody else in the world.
That's true. It's slowly going away now, the pandemic.
Yeah, they
Kind of.
say that, but the numbers with this new Delta strain is kind of picking things back up. So hopefully they're going down.
That's true. Hopefully, no one else gets sick or no one else dies from this.
Yeah,
So, how have you been besides work and stuff?
working and fishing. That's been my life through COVID.
Nice.
Nah, social distance. So that was one of the few things we could do. So
Yeah, I saw you caught a lot of nice big catfish.
yeah, that's all up here in DC and the Potomac is a whole bunch of catfish. Giant catfish at that.
Channel cats, right? Or the bullheads too.
It's channels, a few bullheads, but it's mainly blues and channels.
Nice. Yeah, they sell the channel cats at my fish store.
Oh, okay.
So for any of our live listeners, if you have any questions for James, post them in the comments and I will ask them during today's live stream. Today we're going to talk about tropical fish, and then later on in the video we have to talk about crayfish because I know you used to be a huge crayfish guy.
Oh, still is. Yeah, I just fell back from social media with it.
Nice, that's good to hear. So let's start off by talking about how did you get into the aquarium hobby?
I got an aquarium hobby through my uncle. God bless his soul. Passed a few years back due to cancer. But as a child, going over his house, always going to the pet store with him. Growing up with parents that didn't want any pets. So as soon as I got my first place, I filled it up with pets and realized real quickly that all other pets was almost like a nuisance. It was a job taking care of them, changing things. But when it came to the fish, it was pretty much feed them and watch. You had your basic water changes, but it was very little maintenance when it came to fish. That led me to getting the fish, and it's just been a love of mine ever since. I love the aspect of breeding. I feel that if you can breed a fish, you can almost trick the fish to believe it's in its natural habitat. So it was always a thing to get the fish to breed that could prove to myself that the fish was happy. So that led to going to pet stores, selling them just to support the hobby, to actually selling crayfish and living for almost 10 years off the money.
Nice. I'm sorry to hear about your uncle. Well, I'm glad he got you into the hobby.
Yeah, he was the one, Oscars and Jack Dempsey's.
Nice. I like Oscars and Jack Dempsey's too. So, what were some of the first fish that you kept?
Mainly cichlids. It started off with the Maniguensi, on to red devils. And pretty much every fish that created the flower horn unknowingly until I read up on an article on the fish that were used to make it. But aggressive cichlids is mainly the fish that I started off with.
Nice. The Maniguintans are a very gorgeous fish. I like them, but you can't really have tank mates with them.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. starting them off as babies, letting them grow together. Sometimes that work, but with all fish, you never know. You can read 1,000 articles, watch a million YouTube videos, and still things go horribly wrong. So just trying, just actually paying attention. So when you see the fish getting beat up, to have another tank, a refuge tank that they could be put in, that they won't get killed. So it's always good to try different things.
That's very true. So, what do you enjoy the most about the aquarium hobby?
The fish don't talk back. I'm not a big people's person, so just to have my quiet time, and just you can lose yourself just watching the fish, the characteristics of fish, and them going on with their daily lives. And there's only a few things that matter: them eating, surviving, and reproducing. So everything else is, how we humans always have sub things, that luxuries and things that takes us out of being who we are. But a fish gonna be them.
That's a good answer. I like that. Fish are real easy to keep, which is what I really enjoy about them.
Yeah, a lot of people try to make it difficult, but no, it's all on you. If you want to go high tech, it could become difficult keeping up with equipment, keeping up with measurements. But Mother Nature is simple, so why not keep it simple in your tank?
I agree 100% with you on that. So, what are you currently keeping for tropical fish right now?
Actually, and it's kind of crazy. I don't have any fish tank set up. I just moved. So I planned on taking the house that I was at to turn that into my fish house. But um getting into the specs and what was needed, it's a lot of work. So right now I just want to enjoy fishing and enjoy the rest of the summer. Once the winter time come out, set up my fish house. I actually want to get back into breeding and selling fish, but the space that's needed to do it on a large level, and paying for leasing and all that is just expensive. So trying to find a way outside the box that I could make money without having to kill myself or empty the bank.
I hear you. I imagine it must be a lot of work to do that.
A lot of plumbing, which I don't know, and I think that's the frustrating part of it, of not knowing the plumbing and having to pay somebody else to do it, and making sure to at least understand what they're doing, because people can tell you anything, and then just don't drawing out the diagrams on how I want the tanks, how I want everything set up. Because a lot of people don't tell you, when you set up a fish room, it's almost permanent. You can break it down after years, but when you the first couple of years of using it, you want to add on to it. You don't want to be breaking everything down, starting over. So just making sure I have the best game plan going forward.
That's a very good point. So, what species would you want to breed when you get into it?
And that's the thing. Most people, when they breed fish, they think of fish that they like, fish that their friends like, but it's actually what sells in the hobby, like tetras, little small fish that people like me wouldn't really pay attention to, are the fish that are selling, but they're selling in large quantities. I believe in buying a lot of, or breeding a lot of beginner fish, because you have a lot of people that's entering the hobby, and a lot of time they get scam beat on low quality fish that quickly runs them out the hobby. And you know how I am about keeping the hobby stabilizing, and keeping it honest, that it don't become a corruption like our politics
That's a very good point. And you could always sell those fish to monster fish keepers like me for to
is.
provide a good diet for our monsters.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah, because a lot of times, the people don't know they're feeding their fish goldfish and carp type fish, leads to a lot of diseases, holes in the heads, and you get a fish to a nice size, and then the fish die off on you. That's not a good experience in a hobby.
Yeah, I don't know why the fish stores continue to sell the feeder goldfish. They're basically worthless and they cause a whole bunch of diseases and stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of times, you have most of your commercial. pet stores that will have chillers, but they just don't. And people don't realize how cold you need the water for a goldfish, and then you bring a lot of fish home. You're getting 10, 20 fish, and your fish don't eat them right then and there. Some of them live. So you have a slime coat that builds up in your tank because your water is kind of high. It's over 75 degrees. So that's, I guess that's another story and another live, but it's just a lot of folks to think that they go feed them goldfish, they blow up and they get big, but it's the worst thing you could ever feed your fish.
Definitely agree with you on that. So besides breeding, what are your future plans for the aquarium hobby?
um I really don't know. I want to set it up that I can actually bring the youth in. I'm big with my nonprofit with doing financial literacy and entrepreneurship with kids. So getting kids to use fish as the focal point to learn money, to learn how to make money. That everybody is not meant to go to college. I wish I knew what I know now. I would have never went to college. I would have never wasted the money. There's a lot of things that you can do, that you can start saving your money up as a child, even with your parents, to get in the family business. And I believe, especially with times like now where we're dealing with these pandemics, where you gotta, no one is hiring, and then the folks that are hiring, there's 1,000 people that want those jobs. So something as simple as keeping a fish tank in your house just to make a couple of dollars, you know, teaches you about money, teaches you about finances, and teaches you that you don't always have to be an employee.
That's actually a great thing to do. I would love to see more kids involved in the aquarium hobby because it gets them out of the bad stuff like crime and stuff.
Yeah, because the crime is for money. The whole basics and the foundation of crime is money. And so if you show a child or you show anybody that's out here doing wrong another way, and then you can actually put money in their pocket, because that's what it comes down to. I can tell you 1,000 times, go get a job before you go sell drugs. But if no one's gonna hire you, but you can go make thousands of dollars on the block, where do my voice sit in that on that at? So you
That's
know,
true.
you always got to be able to produce. Like you can tell a person that you need to do this and do that, but until that start coming into fruition, it doesn't matter. People got to live today. They got to survive and eat today. So
Yeah, I always recommend people to start the aquarium hobby young, like you did and I did, because over the years it gets more interesting to you.
yeah. Mm. And then to value life, to care for life, it actually, when you get outside of your house and you're in society, you start caring more. So I haven't studied murderers, so I don't know if murderers had fish tanks. Probably not. If they did, they probably boiled the water. So I don't know.
That's a good question. Now, a lot of people, a lot of my friends, they had fish tanks, but they don't anymore, and they told me they're boring. But I think they just had the same fish for years.
Yeah, but it's for some people, it's furniture. It's like what knots you put in the house. It's like just putting a decorative piece in the house. Some people use it for a conversational starter because if you got an octopus, dwarf octopus in your house, and someone walk in, now, like, what is that? A good conversation starter. Then it brings is relaxation, and I think that's the key. The soothing of the water dropping into the tank, all that. I think it just calms you down, especially if you had a rough day.
I agree 100% with you. It's good. It's a good low blood pressure or high blood pressure reliever too.
Yeah, until you got to go to the pet store and spend some money on them, then the pressure down on the roof. Then,
I know that too well.
yeah.
So we're going to talk about crayfish now, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
So, what attracted you to crayfish?
Um, a buddy of mine, his son, he was in school. Went to the pet store to pick up some supplies. He saw the crayfish. Told asked his father, "Can he get the crayfish?" Father ain't had the money right there. So the solution to that was, all right, your grades look good when the advisory end, then I'll buy the crayfish. Lo and behold, grades come in. Uh, Kid got good grades. So his father bought him the crayfish. By circumstance, I don't know if the female was already pregnant or he had a pair. Couple of weeks later, there's berries up under the crayfish tail. So they had the babies. Babies grow up. A lot of them killing each other, but some of them getting to some nice sizes. So we just went to the pet store and was like, "What would you give us for these?" And just the look on the pet store owner when he saw the crayfish was like, "Yeah, I did this." I was like, "Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them." And he literally gave us money for them because we said we going around to all the pet stores, not knowing that there is a silent code that if you selling crayfish, you have certain ones you deal with, but you at least have 25 miles in between. We didn't know that. So we going everywhere. When we leave here, we going to the next pet store. We gonna sell some more. So he was like, "Nah, how about I buy what y'all have with cash, and then when I call you, you can just bring the rest to me, and I can just exclusively buy all you have." Like, cool. You gonna pay cash, and let's go. And it turned from that to researching it online, that a lot of people that were selling crayfish were selling them as lobsters. I know you remember a few years ago I had a campaign that they are not lobsters. The cliche was you go to a dinner and you order a lobster, you expect to pay a lot of money for it. But if you go to that same restaurant and order some crayfish, you expect that to be an appetizer. You don't expect to spend much money on a crayfish. So it became a thing that if they sold it as a lobster, a freshwater lobster, you get more money. And people was charging $20, $30 for a baby crayfish, and I'm like, this is absurd. It was like these things, most you had 200 babies easy, and they grow real fast. So hey, why don't I just go mess up the whole game, make everybody mad at me, and sell them at a wholesale price? And that's what happened. Next thing you know, I don't know if you gave me the name. Someone gave me the name Crayfish Crayfish Kings, and I just ran with it after that. I was like, hey,
I do remember that. I think I called you Crayfish Man, but I don't remember who called you Crayfish Kings.
yeah. So I ran with it. So it's just been an exciting journey of just different species of crayfish because all I knew about was the Louisiana swamp reds, and when they were like crabs, they were for food. But to see that there were so many different colors, different sizes, there's different species of crayfish. It was just amazing. So when I went to college, I was always told, go into the corner no one's in. You can make all the money in the world. And no one was in that corner. Nobody was explaining how to breed crayfish, how to do this with crayfish, how to do that, and how to make money with them, and then sell them at a reasonable price where you can afford to buy the crayfish.
That's very true. Yeah, I see a lot of crayfish at my fish stores and pet stores that are labeled as freshwater lobsters, and every time I see that, I cringe.
Yeah, but it's a good selling tactic. I just prefer a win-win situation. I don't want to walk away deceiving the customer that this is what it's not. So that's just my biggest problem, that you're labeling it because there's no such thing as a freshwater lobster. So to create that and the persona behind it to bring more money, the crayfish fish make money itself. But I guess when you got to pay employees, managers, supervisors, directors, accountants, lawyers, that you got to add more onto the price. So it is what it is.
There is one species of crayfish that does grow to a lobster size. It comes from Australia, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a giant crayfish. If I'm not mistaken, on Jeremy Wade caught one on River Monsters.
Yeah, he did. I saw that episode. I've been looking for them. I have a hard time finding them. I think they'd be like a cool addition to my tank.
Yeah, but see, for something like that, I don't know, you would need a pool to hold him, and then he probably end up escaping out the pool anyway. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
that's true.
And then how long do I never did no research on it on how long it takes to get to that size because that was a pretty big crayfish.
I know they're nice too.
Yeah.
So, what is some advice you would give people who want to keep crayfish in their aquarium?
Um, to start off with the wild crayfish, if possible. That a lot of pet stores sell. I guess they call them feeder crayfish. The start off with them, knowing that you mainly only can keep one in a tank. That's one of the misconceptions of crayfish, that you can put them a whole bunch of them in a tank and they just be like shrimp, just scavenging across the tank. But they will kill each other. They will rip each other claws off. So I would just advise, if anybody wanted to keep them, to start with one and start with the swamp red, a wild caught one, um, and learn, because a lot of times the information that's given online is valuable, but a lot of times it just comes down to actually keeping the fish yourself. That's why they tell. That's why Petco is so great. You can go buy some cheap fish. If they die, you can take the fish back and keep getting fish for 15 days, because they don't make money off of the actual fish. They make money off the products from the fish. So I would just advise someone to start there and just do their research and just to understand the basic needs for a crayfish, because it's not nothing, no rocket scientist. It's something for a cave. You don't even, and it's great for people that don't want to keep lights, because for each tank that you got a light on, that's electricity. The lights go bad, you got to replace the lights. So you don't even, you can use natural lights in your house for it, because they love the dark. And just pay attention to what the crayfish is doing. Make sure that you're feeding it food, high quality food. That's one of the biggest things that people do wrong when it comes to fish. They just go buy anything and drop it in the tank and wonder why the fish don't look like the fish that's in the magazines, why they don't look like people fish that's online. It comes down to food, quality of food, quality of water, water changes, and actually just staying on top. The more you take care of your tank, the more you get out. That's like anything in life. What you put into it, you get out. So I would just basically just one crayfish, preferably wild. That way, it's more forgiving. If you mess up, it's not more not likely to die on you. They're very hardy. So one crayfish, something that they can go into to hide, and some quality food. Anything that can touch the bottom of the tank. Literally. What can touch the bottom of the tank, they will eat.
That's very well said. And they don't need relatively huge tanks. They could do good in like a 20-gallon.
Yeah. It's probably the same rule of thumb for a fish, because of the bowel load that they will carry. But a 20-gallon is perfect for any American or South American crayfish. Well, North American crayfish.
Perfect. So, how could you tell the difference between a male and female crayfish?
It's funny. I tell everybody laugh when I say this. If you've seen the movie Predator, when he takes his helmet off, those two little things that sits up like that, if you look at the bottom of it and the middle part of it is where the tail meets the stomach. If you flip over and look right there and you see two prongs sticking up, you have a male. If it's just a circular hole, it's a female. And that's the crazy thing. You would expect more people to breed crayfish because they're very easy to sex, just similar to a convict. Just very simple. But just think of the predator. If you got two prongs sitting up right there, then you got your boy.
Nice. Except crayfish are better than convicts.
Yeah. Now you have a couple of other species that won't sex that way. But we're talking about basic crayfish, so I won't even get into the Australians and other species that actually don't have nothing. Both of them look the same, and a lot of times you're telling by the claws and other aspects of the crayfish. But for a basic crayfish, just think of the predator. If you don't see the predator prongs, you have a female.
So pretty much the basic crayfish are the red and blue, electric blues.
Yeah, the snow whites. You have the tangerines. They have a new one that was developed probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little older, but it became into the hobby. Was the oh, that's terrible. I just forgot the name of it that fast, but it was a red, white, and blue.
Oh, ghost.
Yeah, the ghost crayfish, because they have the orange. They got a whole bunch of colors now of those that just hybrids that they crossbreeding.
So in the future, do you see yourself keeping crayfish again?
Um, yes, my main thing is the study part now of actually taking a crayfish and just actually getting to the point, because I never really paid attention to science in school, which I did, but the scientific parts of a crayfish, of how they were able to develop the ghost. Like, what is the next hybrid crayfish to create? So my main thing now is to just actually take and see what different experiments I can do. It'd be like the X Files, just trying different things and selling the babies off for the experiment, pretty much.
Nice. So how hard is it to breed crayfish?
Hard as it is to get up and go use the bathroom. Seriously. Only thing you will want to separate the male and the female. Put the male into whatever tank you want to breed. With them having a lot of babies, you can have a full-grown female can have up to 300 babies. So they have a lot of babies, and you want to have a big enough tank where everyone can have space, because they're going to eat each other. They're going to kill each other. You have a lot of times when they molt, when they shed their exoskeleton, that they are very vulnerable, and they got crayfish sitting right on top of each other. So I wouldn't suggest to breed in anything less than a 55 gallon. And I've done it in 20 gallons, but it was quickly take the parents out, then take the babies out. As you saw, the ones that was outgrowing everybody else, switching them to other tanks. But a lot of people don't have the luxury of having multiple tanks in their home. So it just becomes a thing of a 55-gallon tank will keep them good enough to get to a selling size. And the good thing about crayfish, they live to 2.5, 3 years. So you want to sell them as small as possible, so the customer can enjoy its product, because you're only gonna get 2.5 years. With most fish, you can get at least 5 years out of it with no problem, even longer. But you talking about invertebrates, it's a shorter lifespan. So a lot of people that go to the pet store to buy crayfish, they buy them, they're a year old. So now you're looking at it that they may have a year and may have 6 months in order to keep the fish, to keep the crayfish, and then they wonder what did they do wrong to kill off the crayfish. No, you actually bought a senior citizen and thought it was a young male.
Well, I didn't know they lived such a short life.
Yeah, but
That's
most
that's
invertebrates, if I'm not mistaken, do have a short lifespan. That's why they reproduce so easily, like shrimp. Yeah, shrimp, snails, everything that reproduce so fast that they overpopulate areas because of the lifespan.
that's very true. So I know someone's going to ask this question eventually, but are crayfish good tank mates with tropical fish?
Long as they fast moving fish, you're good. I feel crayfish are always the doctor of your fish tank. If you got a fish that's sick and about to die, that's when that crayfish is gonna get his hands on them. Because a lot of times you see them sitting trying all day long trying to catch a fish, and 9 out of 10 times they won't catch it. But most of the times you got to worry about the fish eating the crayfish, not the crayfish eating the fish.
That's definitely true, especially with bigger fish.
Yeah, and a lot of small fish. You have a lot of aggressive small fish. So once again, that crayfish then shedded its skeleton is soft. So pretty much anything can bite into it. You won't need really pretty much teeth to bite into it. So and then you have the component of stress. You have a fish that's constantly picking on them, and that crayfish not able to come out and eat like it's supposed to. Then you have another problem. But yeah, long as it's fast moving fish, I done kept a lot of Daniels, torpedo type fish. That is almost impossible for them to catch. If that crayfish caught that fish, 9 out of 10 times that fish was on the bottom dying anyway.
That's a good point. So I assume things like Danios, minnows, and guppies would be good.
Yeah, guppies are perfect. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I wanted to do. I just wanted to create a strand and stabilize it of guppies. And reading on it, it can take up to 10 years to do this.
Wow,
Yeah, so the
that's
aspect,
really
the thought process of making money off of fish or learning more. And I think the learning aspect is a lot greater than the money side. Plus, the money side comes with a lot of headaches, especially with shipping fish. Um, Having people come to your home to buy fish, and you got strangers that can show up at your door to buy fish that literally, do I need my gun on me, or am I good? So it's
that's
a lot of
true.
things you got to think about when it comes to breeding and selling fish. Like, how are you going to sell them? Are you going to exclusively sell them to pet stores? Are you going to ship them? Are you going to do the Craigslist where you're going to meet somebody, or are they able to come to your home? A lot of things to think about, especially you got a family. If I was a bachelor, it'd be a whole lot different. You can come to my house. It's a gang of dudes sitting in there, and we ready to deal with any situation that come in there. But you got your son, your wife, you got kids sitting in the house. You just can't have anybody showing up at your front door.
Yeah, that's definitely true because you never know what could happen.
Yeah. But it's a lot of it's an easy way to at least to supplement the cost of the hobby, because the hobby can become expensive. As soon as you get one tank, you get one set of fish, you get bored with that set of fish, then you want another set of fish, then you get bored with that, then you want bigger fish, will cost for bigger tanks, and then it grows, it grows, it grows to, I think I had in a 1 bedroom apartment, I had over 55 tanks.
Well, that's crazy.
So anybody want to know how to get a lot of tanks in a small space, I'm your man.
Nice. I'm sure you can do it.
Nah. But you don't have no furniture. That's why when you got a family, you can't have your family sitting on the floor. So it was at the time I was apartment by myself, so you could do whatever. All I needed was a bed and a refrigerator, and I was in a stove. I was good.
Nice. So there's another freshwater invert that popularity has taken off over the last decade or so, and that is the freshwater nano shrimp. Have they caught your attention and interest?
Um, I'm pretty much focused. Like when I got with the crayfish and realized nobody was dealing with the crayfish, I pretty much stuck with that. And that's the one thing, it can hurt you or it can help you, just to deal with one species of fish, and not a lot can stunt your knowledge, first of all, of fish, and it can do a lot of things. But I know that with the shrimp, they're not gonna get along with the crayfish. That's just the easy meal. So that calls for multiple other tanks. So now we're stacking 55 tanks. Now we got to go find 20 more room for 20 more tanks for shrimp.
Nice. Yeah, shrimp are nice, but they're just way too small for me.
Yeah. Now I've been dibbling and dabbling with Picossus, especially the high end ones, because I still think that that's a lot of money that they're charging for them, and it's just funny that they don't even have a name. They like L34, and I'm like, it was intriguing. Like I may have another section of the hobby that I can go disturb, because it seemed like people were cheat scamming people out of money. So, before I call a person a scammer, I go through what they got to do. What do it cost you to raise this fish, to produce babies, and to sell them? And if it costs that, then hey, I'm gonna humble myself, and okay, they doing a good job. But I don't feel no fish should cost $100 and something. I just don't. You put your
I
time.
agree.
You put your time. The price with your time. That's what any business. You always do that. But it just let's make this stuff affordable for everybody. If you make it affordable for everybody, then you got a whole bunch of people that can get in the hobby. But it's expensive. You go buy goldfish, it costs you $100 to house the goldfish. You got to get a tank, you got to get a filter, you got to get gravel, you got to get this, you got to get that. And then if you listen to some of these weirdos online, you got to go get a whole IBM setup. That everything got to be. It's just crazy.
That is true. There are some people online that get carried away with their opinions and stuff.
Yeah, and it's their opinion. Some people feel that you got to take all the water out of the tank. Hey, that's that. Whatever floats your marbles and what keeps your fish alive, but give out the proper scientific information first. And if you found any type of loopholes or shortcuts, then you share those shortcuts after you explain to a person how to properly do this or do that. That's my only thing, because I don't found a million shortcuts, but it was built on the foundation of the scientific way of doing something. Like most people don't even properly cycle a tank. They put water in there 2 days later. They think because they drop some chemicals in there, they can go drop a fish in there. Then their fish turn into Fred Sanford and have a heart attack. Oh, Pepco, the worst place in the world. They done sold me this messed up fish. So a lot of times, that's why I fell back with social media, because just to hear the things that people talk about and your way is wrong, my way is right, it become a money game. Because if my way is right, then everybody's gonna come buy from me. But everybody have their way of doing things, and if your way is helping and not hurting the hobby, I'm all for it.
That's true. A lot of people are very critical in this aquarium hobby, unfortunately.
Yeah. But they are who they are, so I just tell everybody flip the middle finger at them and keep and throw the other finger up afterwards. F you, peace.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's what it come down to. That's why I fish. So I ain't got to deal with nobody. I ain't got to deal with people.
I think you would have a lot of fun fishing down here in South Florida, catching Oscars and pacu and stuff.
Yeah, I just gotta find out where the alligators are in Florida, which is I think everywhere, and I'm just terrified of just going to the end of a bank and with teeth hopping up after me.
Pretty much where I live, we don't see alligators that much. Maybe in the winter time, but they're further down towards Tampa and Jacksonville and stuff.
Okay, well I can come down there and fish where you at, but
They're not really that
I
scary.
watch
They
swamp
leave you
people. I'm
alone.
not trying to participate in it.
There's actually a sanctuary down here where you can go feed alligators.
Hmm. And that was another thing that I wanted to do. I just wanted to travel and catch fish and put it into my aquarium. And just keep wild fish. It's like the with this pandemic, it just gave too much time to think. It's just entirely too much. It just made life so fragile because you couldn't talk to your elders about this because they never experienced this to this magnitude. And then just watch loved ones and friends just get sick and some dying behind this. It just what's left in life that I want to do. So it's almost like I got a bucket list that I want to check off. So I think I done became into a part of me being a very unstable in life of just wanting to do a lot. So then that's what led to fishing, and I may end up creating a YouTube channel, Smokey's Catfish Adventures, and I plan on buying a John boat next year and just going out on the water. So I think I'm just gonna take the time and figure things out before I hop in it, because where I'm at now, there's gonna be a price tag behind whatever I decide to do. But I will be back in the fish in some capacity, and I will still have fish available for sale in the future. Because I don't feel like, I done started the Crayfish Nation, and I don't feel that, it's right to just drop off and leave everybody hanging. But at the same time, it just life just takes its own turn. So sometimes them fish get put on the back burner, especially when you gotta deal with reality.
That's true. But I'm glad to hear you're coming back really soon. I think you'll have a great impact on the aquarium hobby.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be back. Pretty much trying to wait for this pandemic to end, because the bulk of my money came from aquarium maintenance, and just showing up, being around people is just disturbing right now, and just wearing a mask all the time like we ninjas out here. I'm like, feel like I'm about to go rob somebody every time I walk in the store. I got to pull a mask over my face, like pick them up. So eventually I'll be back, but it's good to come on channels like yours and actually just to talk about fish. Like we may need to set up and get into actually breaking down, like we did on the podcast, of breaking down crayfish, and how to take care of them, how to breed them, and even how to make money from them.
Absolutely, I'd love that. I'd love to have you on to do an actual topic, so we could do that if you're interested.
Oh yeah, because when you asked to do a show, no, he never said the topic. We're gonna talk about crayfish, but I have had crayfish, but actually breeding, selling, I haven't done anything probably since the pandemic started, and mainly because my job is helping people, so helping people with their rent, helping people survive with food and everything became a priority over what I consider still a hobby, even though I make money from it. It's a hobby, and sometimes we got to put into perspective that okay, I'm good, I make good money, especially living in the city where you got to make at least 80, 90 thousand dollars just to live here. That's almost minimum wage here. So being financially blessed to be able to help others and not have to worry about the bottom line of me making a dollar off of fish or any of that, there's always been secondhand to me of I'll go back to crayfish when everything is okay. But it'll get there. It just, when you spend a lot of time away from it, taking care of two tanks become miserable.
Yeah, I definitely
And
can
it's just getting
imagine.
back into it. Yeah, so you go from taking care of almost 75 tanks to not having any. Then, the the psychological breakdown of waiting for a tank to properly cycle, and actually getting fish in there to the point where you like a parent, you about to have a heart attack. If you don't see the crayfish in there where the crayfish at, did it get out? Just preparing the mind to get back into that life, being able to get up 3 o'clock in the morning, putting together 15, 20 boxes, going to the post office as soon as they open, dealing with the post office and anybody that sold fish, dealing with the post office, and you pay for something that's supposed to get there 2 to 3 days, and it don't show up to a week later, and the mail carrier is like, "Oops, my fault. Okay, put your claim in, and we'll get your money to you in 6 months."
Yeah,
Nice.
our post office is kind of crappy.
Yeah, but my main goal is the teaching, and just sharing the knowledge of crayfish, and hopefully somebody can take where I'm leaving off at, because my mind is just to get into it and actually just have a chance to enjoy the crayfish. Because when you go into business, it's no longer a hobby. I don't care what nobody say. It's no longer I'm going down here into the fish room and I'm enjoying my fish. They lying because I'm going down here and all I see is money. If a fish is dead, there's money that I got to write on a piece of paper to subtract from my overall profit. So it becomes a headache at times.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. A lot of people ask me how come I haven't started a fish store yet, and the main reason I tell them is what you just said. A fish store or a fish business is not really a hobby anymore because you're worried about rent, you're worried about the profit, and something happens, you lose all the money.
Yeah. That's why I tell people to moonlight it. Have a 9 to 5. The fish ain't going nowhere. You have a job anywhere. If you in a hobby, you keep fish and you have a job. You have to leave and go to work. You wake up in the morning. If you don't have an automatic switch to cut your lights on, you cut your lights on. 15, 20 minutes after the lights go on, you feed the fish. After you feed the fish, well, after before that, you make sure ain't nothing dead and everything is working properly. But we're talking no more than 20, 30 minutes in the morning time. And you're done until you come back home. A lot of people say feeding 4, 5 times, small amounts during the day. Hey, that's on them. I fed my fish 2 times, sometimes 1 time a day. And anybody that ever bought fish from me know that they've got high quality crayfish from me. But you don't have to feed a fish that many times. Now you can feed them small amounts during the day, but you can give them that same amount twice a day. And especially with crayfish, they're scavengers. So just to have food in the tanks laid around, they're going to eat it regardless.
That is very true. So, do you have anything else you want to talk about today?
Um, like I said, I just came on here to chat. I didn't think it was uh topic build conversation, but it will be great to come back to talk more about crayfish. Maybe I can inspire somebody else to get out here and sell crayfish at a reasonable price, or even being able to supplement their income during these pandemics while we're trying to get our life back. Because it's not just for crayfish. This could be used for any type of fish. Like I said, I'm dealing with some plate clothes, the precautionist right now that I have over at my grandmother's house. I need to go over there and clean the tanks and feed them. Speaking about them, but just to grow them up, see how they react to my water, to my feeding, how I keep fish. And a lot of times it's patience. A lot of times people think that, okay, I can go buy this fish, I can breed this fish, put them online and sell them. Most of the time, it take almost a year or two just to make sure you know what you're doing with that fish. And you may find out you suck at keeping crayfish. For some reason, you just suck at it. You may have to go keep mollies or tetras or guppies or something like that. But these same fish sell because you have a whole lot of people that want to get into the hobby. So somebody got to be there to sell entry level fish, and you got to have some breeders that's there for us that's been dealing with fish all our lives. But like I said, it's just finding your niche, your corner, and your love. Like you have to find a fish that you actually love, or an aquatic life that you actually love. Not, oh, I can breed this, I can breed flower horns because I can get $150. Yeah, but you may have two people that's buying flower horns. It's okay, you make them money off of them, but you're still sitting on another 50 flower horns. What are you gonna do with them? But you got people every day that's buying guppies, buying hundreds of guppies, hundreds of tetras. Just go to Petco and look at some of the fish they have in their tanks. There's a starter hobby company. They really have nothing in there that's complex to take care of. Everything is simple, but they get their money on tanks, equipment, and food.
That's true. So, we actually have a question from one of our loyal viewers, a loyal audience member. He's actually been following us since we started Aquatic Wetline.
Oh, cool.
And he wants me to ask you what your fondest memory is of the podcast that we hosted and who was your favorite guest.
The fondest memory is the headache of going through. I have something that I go through. What's Eddie Murphy brother? Charlie Murphy. The thing when he was doing one of the things with Chappelle where he did this little shake thing. I always had stage fright. For some reason, I had a fear of public speaking, that I'm gonna mess up, I'm gonna do this. So my fondest memory is just over preparing myself for each episode. And as soon as we finish the episode, I'm like, that's it, we done. It's supposed to be more. So I think that was one of the fondest memories of just the preparation of getting things going. And I guess the guest, I can't remember his name, but he had some type of what was it? I'm trying to think of the name where he was going to save fish and he had him here, he was keeping them in pools and stuff, and he came on.
Oh, the Monster Fish Rescue place.
Yeah, him. And what's your buddy name?
Oh,
He
the old
moved
guy.
he moved to the Philippines.
Oh, William T.
William T. Having them two, having William T and Alex just go back and forth on a podcast on you're not telling what you're supposed to say. And I wish we could have did a behind the scenes of all the stuff we had to go through.
I
But I think
know.
that's what made him. And then, him being an elder and being into fish keeping, but really didn't understand what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it. And he felt the world was against him. Illuminati in the fish game. But that was fun. I will say that it was fun. It was a great experience to do that podcast. A lot of people say they love my voice, and I'm like, I hate my voice. I can't stand my voice. I'm just getting comfortable with video, and I guess for my job, we're doing so many Zoom meetings. I just got comfortable over the last year of just seeing my face.
I hear you on that. I'm kind of new to video myself, but I got used to it. The funny thing about William T is I haven't heard from him in years, so I don't know what he's doing now, or if he's still alive or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was a little before COVID. He's still in the Philippines. Uh, he's loving life. I was like, that was a drastic move. I would be terrified to just up and move with somebody I met on social media and move to a whole nother country. But it works. It working out for him. He's loving it. He's happy. So kudos to him.
That's true. I don't know. I don't think I could leave for someone that I've never met before.
Now it's gonna take a lot of money in that bank account to get me and you're gonna have to send a lot of it to my bank account just to get me to come.
I know he was telling me, like the last time I talked to him, that he was thinking about coming back here because he couldn't take shitting in buckets anymore.
Oh man, good luck to him.
Yeah, it must be hard down there. I don't know what life is like in the Philippines.
No, but it gotta. Hey, I need to take some trip there. I've gotten a lot of crayfish from the Philippines. I've shipped a lot of stuff there, especially a lot of the North American species of crayfish. But if they can ship a package, then I guess they good. Not the.
That's true. So hopefully he's doing good. I sent him a message a few days ago on one of the accounts that I had, but I haven't heard from him. So hopefully he's doing okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him lately, but yeah, hopefully he's doing okay. And the other one. Now that speaking of Willie T, I may have to push Willie T as number two. The other guy that had the fish business that was up here in Maryland by me. He did the
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
he was doing the bio.
World Aquatic Bio.
Oh my God. Yeah, him. Um, that was an experience because I remember me and my partner, we was going to meet him and his wife. And I thought we were having a conversation of let's expand the company. Like the more people, I don't mind sharing. No, I don't want to be the one to make all the money. So the more people that I can have with experience, the better I thought it was for the company. So I'm thinking we are going to Denny's. I think it was Denny's to get something to eat to speak on how can we expand. And the first thing his wife did was pulled out a piece of paper and said, "Yeah, I think we need to start with the changing of the name. DMV Aquatics is not going to work." I looked at that lady. I looked at the waiter. I said, "Check." My buddy said, "You ain't ordered yet." Well, I said, "Well, I can get the hell up and go then." And I left. But it was always wild that you see people that see like such as yourself. You've been doing this for a long time. You've been consistent with it, and for someone to try to hop onto your hard work and take a piece of your hard work, that's very insulting to me. So I'm the point. I'm a peacemaker. I'm a harmless big teddy bear. So instead of putting my hands on you, I'd rather walk away. But I think if I would have grabbed him, but I think I would have grabbed his wife first. So me putting my hands on females are no, no. But just for you to come out the years and the hard work, I literally spent my money to go back to school to learn business. And you're gonna tell me, "Oh, your name is not gonna work." And I'm like, okay, what name do you have that can work? We don't have a name yet, but we were thinking we can brainstorm. Like you don't come to a business meeting without solutions. You don't come with problems and you leave solutions. So it's starting to have flashbacks of a lot of the podcasts that we had that a lot of people, they wanted to come in and take over. And I guess with me being the type, hey, if the more you do, the less I can do, because I wanted to be behind the scenes, just taking care of what it took to get the podcast up. I never wanted to be the one sitting out behind this in front of the curtains. I want to be behind the curtains like in Oz, pulling the strings. Nah, those were some great days.
Yeah, I have to say that you were really instrumental in making my podcast a huge success. It still is a success today because I still get a little bit of revenue from each episode.
Okay.
I'll have to send some your way.
Nah. I about to say find one of your loyal listeners and give it to them.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, they probably can use it more than I can. Cause right now they ain't gonna do nothing but go into my John boat. That's already gonna be a world of its own.
So we have another question from my friend Steve. He says, "What's the deal with all those podcast wars back when you guys were hosting?" For me, I think it was just a matter of who's the best.
Um, I don't know. I just I have a problem when someone don't do their research and they say something and my name's attached to it. So I think it was a lot of difference in how it's fish. There is no two same fish keepers. Everybody has something that they do that's different, and that's one of the things. As being a hobbyist, you want to be different. You have a billion people that's in the hobby, so you want to stand alone from everybody else. So I take table salt every 3 days, and I throw it in the air like LeBron and let it drop in my tank, and my fish have babies as soon as I do it. So I think a lot of the wars came from that. It was really never set of a pecking order. Okay, you you you're the main star, you're the backup, and you're the tech man. It was like everybody was stepping in as hosts, co-hosts, and it was almost like death row. Yeah, Tupac come in here and it's just everything got haywire. But I don't think it was more of a wars. It was just more of people that was living off their opinions, that stood strong on their fish keeping skills. And I guess that's what made the show grow.
That's true. I remember with William T. I always had to. He would write scripts, and I would tell him I'm not going to do the show if you're going to use a script because some of the information he had was, in my opinion, not correct. He was going to tell people that discus, they can't have tank mates, but it has been proven before that people have had tank mates with discus before. But that's just one example that I want to show you guys.
Huh. But the main thing that people got to realize, nobody is an expert. Nobody has the one single way that's guaranteed to work for everybody in a hobby. So it becomes, who am I going to take advice from? Who sounds like they're speaking logic? Go from there. And then you got to read books. Like, a lot of people run to YouTube and run to a podcast and think they're supposed to learn everything that they're supposed to learn from fish. Sometimes you got to take a trip to the library. You got to go in there and sit there for hours, and you got to learn the scientific side, especially if you start talking about sharing information, breeding, sharing fish, that you definitely want to actually know what you're speaking about, even if you're a parrot talking. I mean, and it's somebody's else information that you didn't go do the field study on this. Make sure you have the most informed information and still have a disclaimer that I may not be right. Even with crayfish, it was nobody that could tell me, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. It was a bunch of people that had their opinion. I followed a lot of it, lost a lot of money behind, but it was a lesson learned from just listening to others until it got into the point of, let me pick up the book, let me find out the anatomy of a crayfish, what it takes for a crayfish to tick. And that's the part that separates a hobbyist from a breeder, is actually spending the time in the books, because a lot of them will say, oh, I bought these fish and I set them over here and I just let them do this. You had to learn the information from somebody, and if you don't have nobody in your circle that you can trust, then you have to go outside your circle, and sometimes you got to stumble and fall, but the whole thing, put some elbow pads, some knee pads on, and a helmet, and go down that journey, go down that road.
That's true. So my friend Steve says he thinks they were jealous because we had sponsors.
Yeah, but technically we didn't have sponsors. We was reaching out to people, like, we trying to build a podcast. We're trying to build a channel. We use your products. That, can you just give us a few products and we'll put your stuff on? No, we had to sit there and write letters. We had to have conversations with them. Something that anybody can do, because a lot of people say you need a certain amount of subscribers or listeners in order for anybody worth note to even sponsor you. But Hikari came on with no problem. But it's just a thing of reaching out to people, having conversations. And that exactly with the fish game. Oh, this person said it's hard to keep angel fish. It's hard to keep discus fish. It's hard to do this. It's hard to do that. But what is the basics needed to take care of them? Now, we know there are some high end ones that is almost impossible to take care of, that you have to have tons and tons of experience. But a basic discus fish, you can take care of it, as long as you have the water parameters and you're able to keep up the basics with it. But that was the same thing with the podcast. You have to put the work in. You had to go out there. You had to call these people. You had to actually put your money into it. Yeah, and a lot of times, Alex calling me 3, 4 times. Hey, can you do this? Can you do this intro? Can you do this? Can we need this? We need that. We know just who we bring on the show, and that counts a lot, because it wasn't a thing where we were looking for money. We were just looking to share information. And I think a lot of the sponsors we had sensed that, saw that within the letters, within the conversation. So jealousy, that's a woman's trait. So when you got a bunch of men that's jealous on what people are doing about talking about fish, that's hilarious.
That's true. I have to say that even though I drove you crazy sometimes, I learned a lot from you, and a part of the reason why I'm successful is from you. And I learned now that if I want to have big guests and hopefully in the future sponsors, I have to write them letters and get them to want to be a part of my show instead of just me asking them to be a part.
Yeah, and that was another thing. We invited their sales president onto the show to speak about what he do. And most of the times, you will never have him that shows up on any big podcast, any big YouTube channel. Because if it's anything where you have large amounts of viewers, you're gonna want your top brass gonna want to be in front of that camera. You're not gonna have a sales rep, and just a sales rep just explaining their product, explaining what he do. It's a sense of worth. So it's not just necessarily to go grab the big guy. Go grab the little guy in the company. Go grab the janitor that works for Apple. You might get a lot more information from him than you get from one of their brass.
That's definitely true. This was a really great interview. I want to thank you so much for being here tonight.
Oh, anytime, my pleasure. Anytime. I have no problem coming on, especially talking about fish. We can do this all night.
Absolutely. I'll definitely have you on again. Maybe we could do this like monthly. We could do like, maybe I could have you like co-host another video series with me.
I'll just reach out and let me know what you want to do. We can work on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
See
I
who
think
else
that
we
would
can
be
make mad out here.
great. It's been a long time since I've had a co-host, so I think it would be a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, just let me know. Just reach out to me and just let me know what you're trying to do.
Sounds good. I'll put together some ideas and I'll reach out to you.
That'll work.
Perfect. So once again, I want to thank James Jones for the. I hope you don't mind me saying your name.
Oh, the government got it, so why not the rest of the world?
It's true. I just want to make sure you don't get mad
That-
at me.
That's what Mama named me, so I run. It's weird to
Okay.
hear people say the full thing. Feel like I'm back in school, like I'm supposed to say here.
I know. Well, I want to thank you for being a wonderful guest tonight. I really enjoyed myself.
No, anytime.
This is one of the best interviews that I've done yet, in my opinion, for the video.
Hey, sometimes you got to go unscripted. No touch points, no topics, just a friendly conversation. Sometimes you get more information out of that than just to actually talk about specific things.
That's true. Very well said. I also want to thank all the fish keepers that tuned in today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to talking to you on my next video. And like always, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Real Alex Cardinale. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time on Aqua Alex Live.